According to the kasgd.com, there are 6 organs that can be donated and transplanted legally: the kidney, the liver, the heart, the lungs, the pancreas, and the intestines. Unfortunately, the living need the dead like never before. Nearly every part of the corpse can be put to use. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Rahel, and today I'm going to talk to you about the 3 ethical objections to the organ market and why it's wrong. My first objection is an example of greed in the organ market. The second objection is how it's unethical. And the last objection is the exploitation of the poor and the sickly. I will first talk to you about greed in the organ market. My first example of this is a report by Mike Oposa of the Associated Press. In 2009, Michael Mastroianni, who was sentenced to 18 to 54 years in prison for a body scheme he implanted with others to sell body parts. He and partners would receive bodies from funeral directors and had them processed for parts down south. They were sold for knee and hip replacements and dental implants. The second example of greed in the organ industry is by Paul Curtis of CNBC News. He reported that the grave robbers were also working with the funeral directors, and they would steal the tissue from the bones of the corpse while they were still in their wake. They would replace the missing bones with plumber's PVC and replace the tissue with garbage and paper. Unsuspected family members had no idea what was happening until the ring was busted. These examples show a lack of respect for life and treats humans like the meat market. The second thing I would like to discuss is the unethical practices of the organ market. There are some proven dangers to receiving organs from the black market, some that can even kill you, like serious injuries from inferior organs, diseased and tainted organs, like HIV, cancer, hepatitis C, and other deadly infections that could lead to death. Another example of an unethical practice is reported by Carolyn Black of CBS News on July 29, 2010. She reported that Johnny Concepcion, suspected for killing his wife, was moved past 2,000 people on the waiting list in New York to receive a kidney in which he damaged trying to commit suicide. This is an outrage, and once again is an example of unethical practices in the organ market. The last thing I want to talk to you about is the exploitation of the poor and the sickly. The Network for Organs states that as of July 29, 2010, there were approximately 107,783 people on the waiting list for organ transplants. There have been 9,107 transplants between January and April this year, but only 4,635 of them were actually donations. You do the math. Where do you think they came from? In May of 2004, Larry Roeder of the New York Times reported the majority of the black market organs come from third world countries. One example of this is Albert de Silva, of 38, of Brazil. He is one of 23 children and remembers having to share a single egg with 7 of his siblings. He states that his mother was a prostitute and she sold her flesh to survive. So when he found out that he could sell his kidney for $6,000, he did it. He states that the slums didn't offer this kind of money, and the minimum wage is $80 for the month, and work was hard to find. Some brokers paid up to $10,000 for a kidney, but the middlemen that were working the international organ market would only pay them $6,000. Now, Mr. De Silva stated that he wasn't warned that he was doing anything illegal. Mr. De Silva's kidney went to a woman in Brooklyn who had been on dialysis for 15 years, and she had been on 2 transplant lists for 7 years while her condition was actually worsening. She felt helpless because she was going to die, and she wondered if she was wondering if what she had done by taking his kidney was ethical. But her doctor had told her to get a kidney or expect to die. In conclusion, because the demand is larger than the supply, the unethical practices, and the exploitation of the poor and the sickly will continue to flourish in the organ market. Although the World Health Organization issued guidelines in 1994 to avoid coercion or exploitation of organ donors, the guidelines are not binding and the recommendations are widely ignored. Mr. Cameron, Director of the World Health Organization, fears that the line between selling organs and selling people is a rather fine line. Now that I've discussed greed in the organ market, the unethical practices, and the exploitation of the sickly, I hope you will consider talking to your state congressman for tougher laws on organ transplants. Any questions?
How much can you get for a healthy lung on the black market?
Up to $40,000.
Would you consider donating one of your own organs?
After researching this, yes.
What can your congressman do that would impact the organ market?
Tougher policing. Any more questions? Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was good.
That's all.
I'm just gonna put it, you got good.